Hi, I'm Ian and welcome back to Astro Time Traveler. In this video I'm going to show you how I set the angle for the camera when I take a deep sky image. I recently did a video of M31, the Andromeda Galaxy, and within that I took two images and then stitched them together to get the full galaxy in a frame of view. I used Telescopius to set up the two images that I wanted and get the coordinates. But I also had a certain angle that I put the camera at, and I think it was about 55 degrees. And that helped me get the right field of view that I wanted. And I've had a lot of people ask me, having seen that video, well, how did you get the right angle for your camera? And how do you do that? So this video, I'm going to show you how I currently do it, how I use my camera today. But I've also bought a new piece of kit that I'm going to attach to the camera that has bubble levels on it that will help me in the future to improve getting the right angle for the field of view that I want. So stay tuned with this video and we'll see how I currently set my angle, but also how I'm going to do it in the future using these bubbles, and hopefully we'll test it out tonight if we get clear skies, and I'll demonstrate how I take the right angle using my ASI Pro, take an image, plate solve it, and that will show me the angle that the picture is at. And I can also use Astronomy Net to do that. So in this video we'll see probably both of those and see how I get the right angle of attack for my field of view to take the right image. So here's my ZWO ASI294MC Pro color camera. It's the cooled version, and at the front here will be the lens and the back is the cooler. And how do you make sure that the lens is focusing in the same direction that you want it to, that you may have set up in a planning mode or using Telescopius to get the angle that you want to take your image with? Now clearly in here you can see there is the lens, and on this camera it's a rectangle. So it does make quite a difference on what the angle of attack is for that particular lens. Now with the camera, you're trying to find out, well, where is the top of that lens, i.e. 0 degrees, and as you turn the lens, what angle do you get to? Clearly when you get halfway round, you're at 90 degrees, and then if you go a full half turn, you're 180 degrees. But if you want to get an angle, say, of 55 degrees, how do you get that? Well, what I've done in the past is I've used this little bubble that's on the side of the camera, because that actually lines up with actually the bottom of the lens. If you turn the camera around, there it is in all its glory, so you can see the full description of the camera. But if you turn it around, that's in fact the top of the lens, but there's nothing really on the camera to help you find out where that top is. Whereas on the bottom of the camera, there is this glass bubble, which lines up almost exactly with the center of the lens. So what I've tended to do is try and use that as an estimate. So if I have the bubble right at the top, then that's going to say I'm at 0. I'm actually at 180 degrees, but obviously I've flipped the image once I've taken it. And if I go the bubble halfway round, then I'm going to be at 90 degrees. And in the recent video I did for the Andromeda Galaxy, I think I was at 55 degrees. So I had it somewhere around that angle. And I was estimating that from where the bubble was compared to the full upright. Now, when you take a picture through the ASI Pro, it will actually, when you plate solve, give you the angle. So I'm going to test that tonight to see how I can get this better performed. But one of the things I've now done is I've bought this new piece of kit here, which is the Buckeyed Stargazer camera rotation level. And as you can see, it's got bubble levels on it. Let's go, there you go. And that will help you get the perfect upright. So I'm going to attach it to the camera and then we're going to see how that works. I'm going to test it tonight if we get some clear skies and show you the results. So here we are, I've got a screwdriver, I've got my new device. So I just need to unscrew two of these screws on the back of the camera. So I'm just taking off the first one, That comes off quite easily. I'm going to leave everything, the washer is there, so I don't want to touch and disturb the washer. I'm going to leave that on the camera. And then that's the second screw just coming out. So it's a little bit fiddly to get this right on and make sure you're not knocking the washer off. So I think I've got the first one lined up. So let me just see if I can get the screw back in. So probably the easiest way is to hold it down and then just get it, yep, caught in. So that's caught. Now I can just tighten a little bit, not too much. Yeah, that's in. And on the second one, I need to do the same. So again, I want to put the washer so I don't lose the washer. Equally, I don't want to get it into the back of the camera. So there's the washer. Let's lift that up. Let's get the screw coming down. And yep, I think that's worked. So put the screw in there. Now I can tighten up both. And there we go. So that's it. It's now attached. So hopefully that we'll see how that works. So here it is with the those bubbles now fully attached. And as you can see, you can have it two ways. You can get the bubble just flattening out here at the bottom. You can move it to there to have the bubble at that level, or you can have it round here to have the bubble at that. So it gives you a bit of variety as to how you would frame the sensor. And of course, you can also do it the other way around. You can have the bubble at the top rather than at the bottom. So you could do it at that level, or you could do it there. And then likewise, you can have it all the way around here. And in each case, getting that bubble to be flat. So it gives you quite a bit of choice. Now, traditionally, what I've done is I've always been taking my images with the dot really as my reference at the top. And that seems to have worked well for plate solving, etc. And often I've had it at that kind of level there. When I did the Andromeda Galaxy, I got about 55 degrees, so it's slightly off center from what I'm using here, but that's how I was doing it. So what I'm going to do is try those out over the next few nights when I get some clear nights, which doesn't look good in the UK. Probably I'm going to start off by having it at the bottom and seeing how it works for that with those angles. And I'm going to measure them through the ZWO ASI Air Pro as I take images and plate solve, and it will give me the angle of degree. But I'll also put them through astrometry as well, because that can also measure. So we'll see how that goes. So we'll try it out that way, and then I'll probably, at a later point, depending on clear skies, which are not great here in the UK, try it out that way as well. And we'll see how the results go, and I'll share those with you. So that's it. Let's see how that happens when we put it out in the field. So this is a graphical demonstration of the 6 angles I'm going to put my camera at tonight to test out how the spirit level bubble system works. So if you look at the first one here, you can see that little glass circle area at the front of the camera is right on the top of the camera. And at the back, you can equally see the USB ports are kind of very vertical. So they're right at the bottom of the camera. And I'm using the spirit level, I'm using the bubble here to get my angle of attack. And I think when I do that, I end up getting an angle of 90. So that's going to be my starting point. And then I'm going to rotate the camera. And here you're going to rotate it by 45 degrees. And in fact, I actually go down in calculation from 90 to 45. So it's minus 45 degrees. And you can see now the glass circle is moved over to here. And the USB ports have moved a little bit here to the left. And I'm now relying on this bubble to get the spirit bubble in the center to get that angle of 45 degrees. Then on the third rotation, I'm going to move it round again, this time using the bubble at the bottom. So again, the glass circle has moved now right around here. So it's kind of moved 90 degrees from where it was to here. And therefore, we've gone from 90 to 0 in the kind of degree count. And likewise, the USB port is right over on the right-hand side. So that'll be my third angle. Then my fourth angle, again using the spirit level bubble, is to move it round to here, again using the bottom of the bubbles. And this time that would give me a reading of about 270 degrees, I believe. And again, if you look at the circle at the top of the camera, you can see that's now underneath the camera at the bottom. And interestingly, we've now moved a full
180 degrees round from the first angle, and therefore you can see it's moved from 90 to 270, so it's moved that 180 degrees. Then my fifth angle is I'm going to use the use of the bubble again to move it slightly round, so another 45-degree movement from here, which should get me to about 225 degrees. And again, you can see the angle of the USB ports. And then my final and sixth one will be using the bubble at the top again. And this time I'm going to have the glass circle right over on the left-hand side and the USB ports on the right-hand side. And again, that'll be 180 degrees. And you can see that's exactly the opposite of where I had it on the third one. So I'm going to test all of these out. I'm going to try and take pictures through the ASI Pro, plate solve, and then see what I get from that. And then also put the results through Astrometry to see what the results come out from there. Now, clearly, one of the things I'll be doing is probably taking fairly short pictures, and that always impacts the ability of plate solving. So it'll be interesting to see what the results are. So let's see what comes out. So here we are with the camera on the first angle with the spirit level bubble at the top, as I just demonstrated. And we'll see what we do when we now use the ASI Pro to take an image. And here you can see the last few seconds of my first image coming through. And we'll just see what that looks like. It takes a few seconds to load up, as we know. And then it's just about to complete that. And I'll plate solve it. And it's taking a few seconds to plate solve. But there you can see 94.3. So that's pretty much in line with my expectation. And then when I put it through Astrometry, I save that image, and you can see I put it through here. And when you come down here, it was reading about 82.5. So both of those fairly close together, and probably what I'd expect. Remember that the plate solving is dependent on the exposure, and I wasn't taking a very long exposure. So now I move the camera around to that second position with the bubble at the top there, as you can see. And again, I go back into the ASI Pro and I take an image, and it's just finishing taking that image. And then it will load that up. And again, once that's loaded up, I can plate solve this image and see what that says. So there we go. I can now plate solve 114. So that's a bit odd. That's not what I was expecting from the ASI Pro. So let's put it through Astrometry and see what that came up with. So when I put the image that I took here through there, which was 2500, you can see at the top here, and I put it through, I get a degree reading of about 69. I was expecting something like 45, but again, it can be due to not a very good image being taken because it's a short exposure, and therefore the plate solving is not that great. So we should look at the general direction that these are showing us. So here's my third angle. So this is using the bubble at the bottom this time, the spirit level. And I've got that on there. And now we can go back again into the ASI Pro. You can see the images finishing taking a exposure. So it's 10-second exposure. And you can see it's now loading up. And we'll see what that comes out. And there we go. And we'll just plate solve that. And it says -154. So I'll have a look at all of these numbers when they come through. That looks strange again to what I was expecting, but maybe it calculates it different to Astrometry. So let's go into Astrometry, and this is this number now. It's slightly different to before. And we get an angle of 326, which is closer to what I was expecting, as you saw in my original diagram. I'll summarize all of these at the end of the video so you can see what the results of each of these were. So here's the fourth angle. So I'm now using the bubble. So you can see actually we've now got the USB really at the top, and the circle glass will be at the bottom of the camera. But that's now the bubble at the bottom. And now if we go back into the ASI Pro and actually see what image we can take, having established that, it's just closing off, taking that image. And again, it will be loading that up. And once we've got it loaded up, we can have another bit of plate solving. So click on there, go into plate solving, -111. Again, it seems a bit odd. So I'm going to summarize and we'll have a look later on. Let's have a look in Astrometry, which tends to be a little bit more accurate, I think, than the ASI Pro. And here we've got image 2506, and this is showing a degree of 288. Actually, that's that's more closer in line with what I would expect. So I think the astrometry is working well, even though the images are fairly short exposures and therefore could suffer from plate solving because of that. So here we are with the fifth angle, and you can see my bubble at the bottom and the kind of right hand angle of the USB ports. If we go into the ASI Pro, see the final seconds of the image, and then we'll load that up. And then once we've done that, we'll plate solve again, and we'll see what that comes out with. And this time we're getting minus 78.96. So interesting. And then when we put it into Astrometry, let's have a look. Image 2503, and here we've got an angle of about 241 degrees. So that's probably more in line with what I would expect. So 241. So we'll log all these down and see how they all relate to one another. But astrometry seems to be delivering a more accurate and consistent plate solving picture, which is good to see. So here's my final angle with the spirit level at the top this time and the USB right over on the right hand side. But if we go back into the ASI Pro, just finish imaging that final image at this final angle, and we'll load that up and then we'll plate solve it. And right, so it's loaded. Now we'll plate solve, and there we go, 21.65. So again, a little bit different to what I was expecting. Let's go back into astrometry and we'll load up the image this time. And this time the image is number 2510. So there you can see it. And again, this time you can see the angle is 153. So again, a little bit different to what I was expecting, but I think that is to do with the plate solving with fairly limited exposures. So that was doing the 6 rotations. But then what I did do is I went back to actually want to take a picture of the elephant trunk nebula. So I put the camera angle back to 90 degrees with the little circle bubble on the top of the camera. And then I took a picture from that, and here it is. And actually there you can see the elephant trunk right at the top. It's upside down. It's on the top of the picture. And I just checked out my stars. So the stars were looking pretty good. Pretty low star count there, which was good to see. And then I went on and just did, I think, a couple of images. But there you can see, just proving that it's right there in the middle of the elephant trunk nebula. And then once I took these pictures, similarly, I thought I'll go back into astrometry to get an actual view from them. And here we are. So that's that picture. So now this is a FIT file, so it's a little bit better than a JPEG that I was using before. And this time you can see it's coming out with 94.9. So the bubble I put on there to be about 90 degrees, and you can see it's come out pretty close to that. So I'm pretty happy with that. So here I am in Telescopius, and I've just put that positioning in of the elephant trunk nebula, and you can see there's the actual elephant trunk on the right hand side, which my image was at the top of the image. And again, this has got all my telescope equipment in. It's got my camera, etc. The important thing is you can see I've got here the angle of orientation, the position at 90. So that's pretty close to what we came out with in the, I think it was like 94, so it's slightly off, something like that. So that's the actual image I took. But obviously this is where it really can help when you're trying to set up your imaging to get the right angle that you want, to get the right field of view. And in this case, I could have set it at around the 90, knowing that I've got a bit of a tolerance in there, and I'd still get the image that I wanted. So I thought it was just useful to come back into Telescopius to have a look at that, because that was a good way of demonstrating how you can use the angle sensor when you're setting up your frame of view for the image you want to take. So here's a summary of all of those images that I took, and you can see on this page I've got the 6 different views that I took, and down here the plate solving values that I got either from the ASI Pro or from Astrometry. And I guess the overall conclusions are not complete. It doesn't give me a full story, but I think on the Astrometry one you kind of do get a vision and a picture that what I think the angles are telling me is something around this at the side here, and that when we start with the very first angle here, where we've got that little glass bubble on the camera at the top, and we've got the USB ports at the back at the bottom, then that is 90 degrees. And I'm using the spirit level bubble of that angle. That seems to be 90 degrees. And when I took that first image, I got about 94 degrees under the ASI Pro, and I got 82 degrees under Astrometry. So my conclusion is it's probably 90 degrees. After I'd taken all of the different images with the different camera angles, I went back and took the elephant trunk, again setting the camera at about this angle, putting the bubble as best I could to the spirit level being flat there. And under that, with the elephant trunk, it came out again at 94 degrees. So within a tolerance level, I was pretty close to 90 degrees. So I'm concluding that that first one is at 90 degrees. And then, given the fact that when I then moved it by 45 degrees to get the second angle, where the spirit bubble on this one was then flat, that seemed to get me to a position of obviously 45 degrees different. And I think that will be, therefore, a 45 degree angle. Because I know when I've taken in the past, roughly at this point, I've had 55 degrees, 65 degrees when I've been taking the Andromeda Galaxy, etc., and one or two others. So I know that's pretty much where that is going to be. And then when I move it to the third position, where I'm now using the bottom spirit bubble, and the glass circle is on the right-hand side, and on the left-hand side at the bottom, at the back, you've got the USB ports. That seems to be giving me a kind of a position of either 0 or 360 degrees, whichever way you look at it. And although the readings I'm getting from Astrometry, and certainly from the ASI Pro, look very different to that, the Astrometry on it is kind of close, and it can be within a tolerance because of what's happening when I'm taking the image. And all of these, apart from the elephant trunk one, we're using JPEGs and not FIT files. So the plate solving may not be totally accurate. And again, I think that then works. So if that was 0, 360 degrees, then as I move to the fourth position, which you can see here is a 90 degree movement, and I've now got the glass bubble on the camera at the bottom instead of on the side here, and I've got the USB ports at the top. So if that was a 90 degree movement from 0, then that would give me 270, let's say. And again, that will be exactly a kind of a reverse of what we had here. So 90 to 270 is 180. So that kind of correlates with that as well. And I got on Astrometry, I seem to get 288. So it's pretty close to that. So I conclude that this is the kind of right scale to use generally. And again, when I moved it to the fifth position for Astrometry, if it was another 45 degree movement, which it is here, then I'd expect to have somewhere around 225, and I ended up having 241. So again, within the tolerance of the bubble, the spirit level not being exactly perfect, and the plate solving not being perfect, that seems about right. And then finally on the sixth position, again, now having the bubble right over on the camera, right over here on the left-hand side, and the USBs on the right-hand side, I think you get an angle of about 180, and I got 153 for Astrometry. So the ASI Pro ones seem to come out with different values, so I need to look probably further into that, and maybe take longer images to get a better actual plate solving from the ASI Air Pro. But the Astrometry ones kind of give me confidence that this is the sort of range I'm looking at. And I guess what that tells me is that when the camera is at this start level with the glass bubble at the top, and the actual sensor looks like this, it's actually at 90 degrees. And it's only once we've moved it by 90 degrees, so in this case to the kind of third kind of image level, that the camera is at 0. And that's actually with the rectangular of the camera being vertical and the narrow part of the rectangle being the horizontal bit. So I thought it would be, this would be 0 and this would be 90 degrees, but it looks like it's the other way around. This is 90 degrees and this is 0. And I guess really it's a bit of trial and error. Practice yourself with where you set the camera, and then go and take readings through either the plate solving of the ASI Pro in the preview mode, or with the actual image through Astrometry to help judge and decide exactly where to angle yours. I certainly found when I'm imaging with the glass circle of on the camera at this level at the top or slightly on the side, either here to the right or even down here to the left, all the imaging works really well, and it kind of lines up to the values I'm seeing here, I think, certainly on these ones I've done on the right-hand side. And what I have found with the ASI Air Pro is if I have the angle at this level, where the little circle dot is towards the bottom or right down below, I've actually found the ASI Air Pro struggling to plate solve when I'm doing polar aligning. And I think that's something to do with the angle of the camera to the database that it's using to do the plate solving for polar alignment. So I found it's much better to do that when it's up here. And of course you can, once you've done it for the first kind of 180 degrees, you can always move the image that you actually take, and you can change it and rotate it to 180 degrees, so you still get the same shape that you want, but you're just taking it from the other 180 degree angle. So you don't need to use all 360 degrees of angle to get the image that you want most likely. So I thought that was helpful. It's run through, it's given me some different results than I maybe originally thought, and be interested to know if you see anything different or you've got any other conclusions. But hopefully that's helpful to decide how to place your camera to get the best angle for the field of view that you might want in any image that you're taking.